There are many different ways of applying color depending on the medium you're using. So in this video, you will see two ways of applying color that are very common and useful in art. One way is to apply color as is, which means that the color keeps its original state without alteration, and it looks solid and bold. So we're going to go ahead and take a look and see how that's going to work out. And we're going to apply our color as is, which is going to be solid and bold. And that pretty much means that if I take, for instance, a color pencil and apply it nice and heavy, it creates its original state, a red color. If I take a chalk and apply it, it'll keep its original state just as it is. If I take an oil pastel, it'll keep its original state just as it is. If I take a crayon again, it'll keep its state just as it is. A marker will do the same. And of course, paint will do the same. So this is what we mean by as is, which is going to make our colors look solid and bold. So that's one of the ways of applying color, just as it is. Now the other way is to actually blend your color, which means that the color will be combined together with either a different tone or another color, and it looks like if it's subtly changing. So we're going to go ahead and start our second section here, and we're going to start with blending it. Which means changing its original state. And we're going to do that by applying another color. So we're going to add two different colors. So for our first medium, we're going to do the colored pencils, and I'm going to just start with my yellow. Pressing nice and hard all throughout that area. Because the yellow is a very, very light color, so I'm going to press nice and hard. And then I'm going to move over to my red, and I'm going to start very, very lightly towards the top by tilting my colored pencil and applying it over my yellow, and then pressing harder as I go to this area here. So lightly pressing here and then pressing harder here. So we move over to the next tone, to the next color here. So it seems like if it's blending from yellow to orange to red. So now for the chalk, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to apply a coating of the chalk, starting with my yellow. And right over the yellow, I'm going to start adding just a slight hint of orange, or the red, over my yellow, and then pressing a little bit harder as I come down. Now for this one, we can blend it in with our finger because it's so dusty and the chalk will adhere to the paper surface. So now we can see the blend happening here from the yellow tone to the orange to the red. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to my oil pastel and I'm going to do the same thing starting with my yellow. And I'm going to do the red over it very, very lightly. And start pressing harder as I come down towards the end until it changes over to the red. So same thing with my crayon. So with my crayon, I'm going to start with my yellow. And with my red, just going to go in there very, very lightly. And then keep pressing a little bit harder. Just slightly harder as you come to the end. And there's your next transition there. Okay, so now for my markers, I'm going to start with the yellow. And in this case, I'm going to do red on the opposite side. Here, I'm not going to put it over the yellow because it's going to blend in with the water. So what I'm going to do here is just get some of the water here. Start blending it in to my red. And this is where the blending happens right here. So right in between, you see how it's just blending in the yellow and the red together to make that orangey tone right there. So you start from yellow to orange to red. Okay, and finally my paint. So I'm going to take some of that yellow there. I'm going to apply some of the yellow. And I'm going to mix in some of the red. So I'm going to start at the opposite end and blend it in as I come to the top. This is where my blend happens right here. So I want to have that as soft and subtle as possible. So there we go. So now we have the transition from yellow to orange to red. So as you can see, you can actually use different types of mediums to achieve similar results with blending. So that's one of the things that we can also do for our art projects, depending on the type of medium that you actually have at home to work with. So we're going to try the next one down here, which is actually going to be blending, but in this case, it's going to be, which it means changing, but it's only going to be with the same color. So the difference here is that here we used yellow and red, And then this one we're only going to use one color. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start here. I've labeled each one of these so you guys can see which medium we're using. And I'm going to start with my color pencil again here and just start with its original state. But we're going to blend the same color here by putting a lot of pressure first and releasing the pressure as you come along towards the end. So it goes from a very, very nice, rich, bold red to a very soft red. And for my next one here, I used chalk. So I'm going to start with a nice, bold, pressing hard, and then releasing my chalk as I go down. And since chalk is a little dusty, I'm going to go ahead and blend it in with my finger. And now you see the transition here going from bold red to medium to light. Now same thing with my oil pastel here. I'm going to start nice and heavily, and as I go towards the end, I'm going to start releasing the pressure, and it's going to create a softer blend as you come to the end here. So it goes from rich, nice and bold, to a softer tone. So we're going to use the crayon next. And same thing happens here. So remember that the amount of pressure you put down on your medium is going to determine the richness of the color and the intensity of the color. So here I went from nice bold red to a softer, lighter tone of red. Now for my marker value, I'm going to actually use some of the red and scribble some of the red on there. And with some water, just gonna tap it on my towel here. And I'm gonna start spreading out that red. And as I go down, I'm gonna get the lighter tone here. So as you can see, it's subtly changing from that rich red over to the softer tone here of the red. And for my watercolor paint, we're gonna do some red here, but now the water is going to make our red tone down a bit. So we need to add some water here and bring that red down to the rest of the area here. Just blend it in the middle. So you have a nice transition from red to light red. So it's interesting how the water will actually get your color to change depending on how much water you add to it. So if you don't add too much water, it's going to have the color rich and bold. But if you add plenty of water, it's going to dilute your color and it's going to make it a softer tone, a lighter tone, just like this here. So as you guys can see, blending is very, very important in art. So we were able to blend here and here. Here we used two different colors, and here we used the same color, but we were able to achieve a sort of blending. So the other one we did was as is, which we kept our color in its original state. So these are two very, very useful and important ways of applying color. So let's keep these in mind so that we can apply them into our art projects in the future. If you guys want to learn how to blend even more, you can actually check out the link below, and I'm gonna show you how to blend using color value, and we can do that in the next video. So stay tuned.